Gadd from Friends of Par Beach, and you've been seeing through the last speakers the mention of Par Beach because we are very fortunate to be well supported by the groups that are here. Coast Snap we have installed, Making Space for Sand have supported us considerably in bringing the subject which I primarily have been asked to talk about, which is the time and tide bell. I would also mention, perhaps while I'm starting off, Cornwall Wildlife Trust, because we, as a community group, one of a number of community groups all around the coast of Cornwall, and we become the, I forgot what we call ourselves. Well, and that. But Cornwall Wildlife Trust have meetings and bring us all together, and we discuss ways of looking after our coastline primarily. Anyway, to move on, time and tide bell. Yeah, what is a time and tide bell? And this is a question I asked myself, January 2021, when the chairman of our small group came to the meeting in January and said, I've been asked by the local parish council, which is Towerdreth and Par Parish Council, he said, I've been asked to take forward the Time and Tide Bell project, and I'm keen to do that. And we all went, yeah, what is it? And he sort of gave an outline to it. So we all said, yeah, sounds all right, that sounds like fun, let's go with it. So then we started our research. Now, there is a national project of time and tide bells, and it's been in existence for well over 10 years now. In fact, the first bell apparently went in 2009 in, let me get the right place, in Appledore, in Devon. And it went in there because the designer of the bell, who is a Marcus Verget, lives there. So it was quite handy for him. And it was a project that, or a concept he started, because the man is quite unique in that he's a farmer and a musician and an artist. And he's one of these people that says, why can't we do that? And tries to do it. And he designed this bell that is like nothing you've ever seen before, because we all used to church bells and handbells and all that sort of thing. Well, there's this bell that's suddenly got wavy bits in it. And so anyway, the project started and we decided that we were going to run with it. Now, as I say, the first bell was introduced in Appledore. We've got a clicker here? Yeah, that's the right-hand side one. The right-hand side one, thank you. Oh, right, okay. And as you can see, is it up there? Yes, it is. The concept is to celebrate and reinforce connections in local communities between different parts of the country, between land and sea, between ourselves and in our environment. And this was the principle that it was built on. And I would add that the background pictures are all from our 2022 calendar that we put together, and all these images are posted on our Facebook page by our supporters, and then we nick them off them and turn them into calendar and make a few bob on them, which is lovely. So, right, as I say, Marcus Verget started this research in this in 2008, and the bell harmonics, which is totally different to any church bell you're going to hear, it's very low-toned and quite melodic. The first installation was in Appledore in the next year, and then after that the project was expanded and various other places brought it to fruition. And as you can see, it's a work of art, nothing more in its own right, but it's there to stimulate and to act as this potential to focus conversations and discussions around the tides, global warming, rising temperatures, all those things. But bear in mind, this was back in 2009 when it all started, and it wasn't that much of a conversation back then if we cast our minds back. And then the project has moved on, and we picked it up in 2021, January, yeah. It took us 2 years and 3 months to bring it to fruition. So, I'm trying to remember what we called that picture. It was, Odd Bum Out, that's right. This is the location of the bells that are in now. In fact, I noticed when I was looking at it, one was missing. There's Mablethorpe in Lincolnshire is also there. We brought ours into fruition earlier this year, as have Brixham and Haysborough, spelt Happysborough. Never quite worked that one out, but it's Haysborough. There's 2 more to go, hopefully, one in Redcar in Yorkshire and one in Ventnor on the Isle of Wight. Move on. Okay, so it all started, apparently, this was done by our research once we took this project on, with what was called an expression of interest back in May 2019. And it was submitted by the Parish Council in partnership with Parbay Community Trust, which is a group that had funding to promote community projects within the area of Parr, St Blasey and Towerdreth, which is a conglomerate of villages and towns around us. Because areas of that were very low on the scale of social deprivation. So there was funding there for that, and they started it, and they got the nod and said out of, I think it was 5 other areas that were sort of tendering for this, they went to Parr because of its community engagement, because there was a place we call Canubia Hall, which is a community hub now in Parr. There's a community garden. We had a sports track, running track and fields that the council wanted to sell off, and the community took it over and now run it. Everything we do is community-based. And in January 2021, as I say, we were asked to be the lead group to take this project forward. So we formed a subcommittee, because you can't have committees too big. It's not a wise thing. You need just a few people. Otherwise, you start discussing the size of a sausage roll and things like that, which you don't want. And this structure here is the drawing that we were given of how the supporting structure for the bell would be. You notice the bells, it's 2 bells, one inverted on top of the other. There's a larger bell in the base of the structure and a slightly smaller bell on the top. And the clapper that goes through the middle of it, when it's actuated by a big ball down the bottom, it rings both bells at the same time, and being different sizes, you get a harmonic of notes. That's a theory anyway. Right. Can't keep you too long. So we decided we needed to plan what we needed to do, and we listed it all there. Community engagement was the first thing. We had to get this message out to our community, get their support, get their involvement. We recognised fundraising would be necessary because the bells were donated to us because by the national group who had got funding for them, but we had to raise the funds for the structure and the installation and any other costs that came. And we needed to publicise it, and we needed to fundraise, and we needed to get landowners' permissions because we're part of the duchy, which is unique, and this thing sits in the water, in the tide line, and the duchy happened to own all that. And we needed to fundraise, and we needed planning permission and fundraise. and a thing called an MMO license. Has anybody ever heard of an Marine Management Organisation license? It's a government thing. It's a bloody nightmare. I tell you what. And guess who got the role of getting the MMO licence? Muggins. And we got quotes for the structure. Let's move on. Right. There's a few samples of some bells that are in place already. Huge variety. As you can see, the bells are all the same, but the structures are totally different to how each one is supported. Even to these wires, and I'm not quite sure which one that is, underneath yeah, clever. Anyway, you've seen the structure that ours was going to be, and let's move on. Eventually, the bells were delivered to us, and that was great because now we've been going round with the board. I've set the board up at the back, which was sort of part of our publicity. Thank you very much. And we've been going around with that, sort of preaching about the concept. Well, finally, we had some bells which we could take round. The smaller pictures there, not very good image, but that's Marcus doing a little bit of titivating to them. And we went round the local schools and fetes and anything we could. We were shipping these bells around, and people could have a wooden mallet and give them a dong and all that. So, and I have to say about 98% of the people that we spoke to were very supportive. And we got them to dig in their pockets as well a little bit, because we had to raise money. This is Par Sands. It's a half-mile beach. It's one of the few beaches that dogs are allowed to be walked on 24/7 every day of the year, which is great, as long as they pick up after them. And to be fair, 99% do. There's only one or two that let the side down. It's an interesting beach. We love it. We don't have it scraped. We don't want it scraped. Sometimes people say, "Oh, take the seaweed off. It's smelly. It don't work." And then the next tide it washes away anyway. But it's part of a local nature reserve, and that's how we want it. My wife would be bored at hearing this one, but we live just overlooking that beach. We're very, very lucky. We look out over the St Austell Bay. And when you look out of our house and you look to the left, which is the right on the screen, you're looking over farmland and Trill Farm. And it's beautiful countryside. And I always say, there is our constable looking out. And then you look ahead and you look round the bay, down the bay, both sides, and you're looking out to sea, which is our Turner. And of course, then you look to the right, and you've got Par Docks, which is industrial. So there's our Lowry. So in one beach, you've got all these concepts, which is fantastic. And in fact, some people say, it's a shame that the docks are there and the industry, and we say, no, Par wouldn't exist without it. It's clay country. And Par Docks is all about that. And we love it. It's really good. So back to the bell. Let's get on the bell.
2 minutes left.
Really? You're joking. Okay. Here's the bell being put together. Mike Davis Fabrications got the job, and he did a fantastic job because, believe you me, this structure is not easy to put together. You think about the angles. Built out of marine-grade stainless steel, environmentally friendly, not cheap. And then we covered all this structure, all the poles, in ceramic tubing, which is recognition that we're in the clay country and ceramic tubing's made out of clay. So there we go, from the drawing to reality. 2 minutes, it's ridiculous. Here's some pictures of the installation of it being put in on the 21st of April this year. Lovely sunny day, I nearly got burnt on it. And there it is installed, so there's our result. Supporting this, we needed to tell people, that visitors and others, just what this was about, so we put together an interpretation board, and I'm very thankful to Making Space for Sand and the use of Cornwall Council's design team, who we collaborated with, and we produced the interpretation board. And I've clipped that board, not the original one, but the copy of that board, that's actual size, onto the curtains there. It's really good. We love that, and it tells you all about what I've just been waffling on about. Is that one of mine? Must be. This is putting in the bell. Right. The bell should ring on an incoming and an outgoing tide. That's the theory. In all honesty, when we installed it, it hadn't been fully appreciated just how gentle the tide is in Par. And although on the face of it, putting it between these rocks seemed a great idea, it wasn't for ringing the bell because it tends to break up the waves. We also had to put a marker buoy on the top of it because it actually just on a high tide disappears below the water, so we were duty bound to put a marker on it. And to start with, we put that marker buoy onto the clapper because it's just extended it out. That didn't help either. So since then, we've designed a piece to add to it to move the marker buoy off of that and get it on the side. And then we're working on experimenting on what's the best optimum to get this thing to actuate and actually make a ring. Otherwise, all I can do is go out there and keep hitting it with a mallet so that everybody can appreciate the purpose of what it's there for. Okay, I'm out of time. It's your fault, you went over to start with. Right, just to sum up, following the installation, creation of the interpretation board, which quickly followed, we had an inauguration day on the 27th of May. It was brilliantly hot. We had a lot of what you're talking about here, Jolyon from Making Spaces for Sand and a few others that I can't remember off the top of my head came there, and it was a really great day. We involved the local school because it's all about the community to us. The local school did the theoretical cutting of the tape for the inauguration of it with a team they called the Green Team, which had self-grouped and said to the school, we want to do green work, as they put it. So that was great. And we also had Wood Pension Protocol UPG, which is a community interest company based in Par, comprising of performance ensembles such as theatre, urban playground commissioned, and they had a commission called On the Strand Line, which also highlighted the whole concept behind Tide Bells. Currently, we're moving on We're into Coastal Connections, which is a project to get people with history to talk about what they remember about the area. And then we hope to bring that to the youngsters and get more engagement and noting how things have changed. That's our time and tide bell. Thank you very much.